I saw actually a woman wearing a veil, presumably a woman, wearing a veil on a Sun News report. So they just showed up at a ceremony and they saw this happening. So the point is, this is not like once or twice a year. This is happening with sufficient frequency that I think it really does undermine the integrity of the oath, and that's why we're making this clarification today.
That was back in 2011, and then Immigration Minister Jason Kenney was adamant on making new Canadians remove face-covering veils while taking the oath of citizenship. They made it so. They made a rule. But now, of course, that's no longer the case. So how have things changed since Minister Kenney's proposal? Let's ask the current Immigration Minister, Chris Alexander, who joins us from Toronto. Minister Alexander, the court struck it down. A lot of people keep saying, well, obviously they did. It's the person's religious right to do so. But that's not how the court struck it down. They said you were interfering with citizenship judges' rights. So I want to ask, are you guys going to appeal this decision?
Yes, we are giving notice of appeal. And we will look at all the options available to us to ensure that these basic requirements of citizenship are respected. Listen, Brian, in this country, everyone has the right to dress as they wish, the freedom to shape their personal lives as they wish, even the freedom to choose whether or not to become citizens. But when you go to become a Canadian citizen, you don't have the right to change the rules. And the rules include a very strong requirement that we confirm your identity, and also a requirement that you swear or affirm an oath in public, and that we see and hear you doing that. And anyone who covers their face with niqab or burqa or any other facial covering the mouth, is not going to meet those requirements. That's our very strong view.
Let me read to you from Justice Keith Boswell, who said that this interfered with judges' ability to make their own decisions. To the extent that the policy interferes with a citizenship judge's duty to allow candidates for citizenship the greatest possible freedom in the religious solemnization or the solemn affirmation of the oath, it is unlawful. Now, he was asked to rule on charter grounds, and he chose not to. And I want to ask you this. You're a former diplomat. You have been around the world. You've worked in Muslim countries before. You know that there's debate about whether this is a religious requirement. But even if you accept that it is, observant Muslim women that go to the Hajj are not allowed to wear their veils. So why would we say, well, we have to allow them to do it because it's a religious right, when the religion itself says there are times you must remove it? Absolutely. I am in citizenship ceremonies. I was in one yesterday, where there are Muslim women taking the oath without their faces covered. I haven't been in a single one, and I've been in dozens since becoming minister, where anyone had their face covered, because it is the rule. And we are not leaving this to the discretion of judges. We established it as a rule, and we expect it to remain a rule because Canadian citizenship and the requirements for citizenship reflect Canadian values, and Canadians are very attached to those values. We've had statements from Muslim groups across the country decrying this ruling, and actually the judge's ruling is riddled with errors. He says that it is a basic tenet of the religion of Islam to be able to cover one's face. That is absolutely false. The vast majority of Muslim women in Canada and in the world do not cover their faces. They are no less Muslim women for doing so. And we do not give people the discretion to decide which rules of citizenship, which rules of the ceremony they're going to adopt, and which ones offend them personally. These are rules that are the same for everyone, and we expect them to be respected by everyone who wishes to become a Canadian citizen. And Brian, one more point here. We are interested in a country where women are protected. Some of those who are siding with the judge, who's made a very controversial and mistaken ruling in our view, are the ones defending the right to polygamy, defending the right to forced marriage, decrying our bill to put an end to these kinds of barbaric practices. We want women to take part in the citizenship ceremony under the same rules as everyone else, wherever they come from,
whatever their background, because that's part of their equality as Canadian citizens. It's part of protecting them as Canadian citizens. And we don't want domestic violence, human smuggling, violence against women to come into this country through the back door.
All right, Minister Alexander, we're out of time, but thanks so much for joining us and for standing up for what we view on this program as common sense.